can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Now, every time, Don, we start this, I'm looking at the screen here. Remember the Rocket used to look at the screen here and used to be the Rocket. He used to be
Rocket? What are you talking about?
The Rocket. Well, I'm looking at the computer screen here, and every time I look at it, the cadence bars don't come up. So I'm just mentioning it. I asked Rob Melandri, remember Rob, who could start your sprinklers on your mobile phone from here?
Yes.
Well, he was coming to overhaul but he couldn't. He's very, very busy.
Well, he hasn't come down to my place, but we've got plenty of rain at the moment.
No,
I don't
he
want
won't be coming down. He's very, very busy. So he's coming in to either give us a new computer or fix the one so I can see that we're actually speaking on air, because it's very important, Don, because we're ringing Los Angeles later in the morning, to speak to a man whisperer called Lana.
What?
A man whisperer.
Hang on. I've heard of horse whisperers.
Similar things. She whispers into men's ears to tell them how to get onto women.
Really?
I presume it's just a man-woman thing. I wonder if she might have, I don't know if she speaks to trans or gays or... Anyhow, we're going to put a call into her. I know I shouldn't say that in case she doesn't take the call, but I have spoken to her, and she is she's a man whisperer. And have I got some questions for her? Anyhow, so why did I say that? Oh, yeah, because if we ring her, I'd hate to think that I've wasted... She's $20 for 15 seconds. $20 for 15 seconds to get her advice on how to chat up women.
Bullshit.
It is, Don.
You cannot have a conversation in 15 seconds.
No. Did I say said 20? Did I say 15 seconds? No, $20 a minute. It is.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Don.
No, just wait till we get her on the thing.
All right, it's $20 a minute to speak to her.
Yeah, right.
And
how are you feeling?
It'll cost $20 a minute on my phone. I'm ringing her on my mobile phone. If we speak to her for half an hour, that'll
but
be
she
more
might
than
help
$20 a minute.
You need some help in that area.
To chat up women.
Oh, you were a master at it in your days gone by.
Well, I don't think we're too...
I can remember. I could tell some of the story. No, I won't.
Don.
I won't tell about that.
I don't think it was too subtle what we used to do in the day gone by.
No, you weren't too subtle.
You weren't too subtle.
Whoa.
You used to say, I've been out of function with you, and you'd look at a woman and say, hey, you, here now, come here. And over that
I wasn't calling a dog. That's how you call a dog.
And that's what you used to.
Right. Oh, did I?
You used to say, come here, Dale, please. What are you doing? Let's go. And
now, listen, I was in a good mood this morning. The horses worked well last night. You wouldn't appreciate that, but I'm on a high. This is what my life revolves around. Get up early, watch the soccer, and Australia kicked the beautiful first goal, magic cross. I thought it was going to go up. It was when it took off for goal, I thought, this is going to go over the top. It went into the back of the net. And lo and behold, half an hour later, 2-1. 2-1 half an hour later.
I watched it myself. Now, tell me this, Don. Now, I want a sensible answer to this. You're going to say, as if you would. Tell me, why, and it's like AFL football, I suppose. So Australia kicked a goal.
Yes.
Then... why are the other people so much better? So is it their game structure? Is it the way is it their team tactics?
I think there was
is it they more skillful? They're probably more. Are they fitter? How can
it was a lack of the first two was, to me, was kind of a lack of concentration.
Okay.
They let the player. There was an easy header, and what was the other? The other was it. 2 headers or a strike. So anyway, I just thought that they were just a bit loose, but gee, Australia were fantastic that first.
I know.
When the game opened, I thought, wow, we are.
So
we are all right.
I know the talent shines through. Do they dribble the ball better? Do they place it better? Do they have better team tactics? Do they have a better game plan? Is the goalkeeper better? Are they fitter? How does it suddenly just turn to shit?
Well, I watched the game the night. Well, I went to sleep actually on the couch, but I watched Saudi Arabia play Argentina. Now, Argentina are favourites and got knocked off. Now, how does that work?
So that's basically my point, Don. Australia
And they
kicked
only
the first...
play. Sorry, and the Saudi Arabians only play club football within Saudi Arabia.
This is basically my point. So Australia kicked the first goal, and you think, holy shit, how good's this? Because it is fantastic to watch Australia play soccer internationally.
Yep,
I don't care what
agree,
anyone says.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And then suddenly it turns to shit, and you think, how does that happen? And
But
people say,
on.
you got Messi and all the great players that play, Ronaldo, but they're standouts. Surely they've got pretty skillful, the Australian soccer players, aren't they? Well, maybe they're not. Now, Don.
Well, in all fairness, I think, a lot of the best athletes go into Aussie rules, don't they? I'm not saying I'm not decrying the players that are playing soccer, but that's the dominant sport, and I wonder how they'd go, these Aussie rules players, if they went to football or brought up with soccer.
Well, they would be like Peter Dacos.
Yeah,
how good would he be? Anyhow, so Don, and then a guest we've had in here twice. This is just covering all these things off now. Michael Zarafa. Remember he came in here with his charming bride, Celine. Celine, over here. I'm pointing over to the couch she was sitting on. We've had that since
Adam was a boy. I reckon you've resurrected that one. Where did it come from?
We put a rope around it where she sat, because we're just keeping it pristine. Celine over there. No one's sat in it since.
Why are we looking at an empty couch?
I know. So Michael Zarafa is fighting. I think he's fighting a bloke called Danilo Creati. I hope that's the person he's fighting tonight. You can watch him on pay TV, the main event. And so he's on tonight, Michael Zarafa. Very big, important fight, because if he takes him to the cleaners or beats him, he can fight for some serious money next. Maybe he's fighting for serious money now. Now, Don, before we get on to the most disgraceful state we are living in, I love this country, love living in Victoria, am a proud Melburnian, but holy mackerel, when a instrumentality can tell someone who drives a motor car that the number plate Dan out is offensive and should be taken off your car. We are in... Talk about the Premier calling people Nazis. What a dog. What a pig of a man to keep talking.
Yeah, but hang on.
Calling people Nazis, and yet we are living in it's almost Stalin running this country. If you, at this state, if you can tell people that they can't have a number plate in their car called Dan out, how would you find that offensive? He and the Liberals, half the state think the Liberals are offensive, half the state think, more than half the state, think that the Labor Party is offensive. How can you have that simple word, DANOUT, how could you say that's offensive to put on a car? It's actually humorous, really, when you think about it.
I'm more concerned about how did the authorities find out. Don't tell me somebody at the TAC or wherever it is, Transport Regulation Board, TRB, whatever, went through and said, who's got that number plate? Somebody has put that man in.
That's right. The 120 people he has doing public relations for him, the Labor Party.
Put the man in who owns that number plate, the man from Gippsland or Morwell or wherever
Peter,
it is.
his name is.
Okay.
I don't know what else.
Somebody's put him in.
Of course they have done.
And why would they act on it? That's the other thing. I just cannot believe
because
that.
This is what... Now, your friend Justin Quill, remember Justin Quill said that Neil Mitchell wanted to investigate something about fraud that the government were doing before the election, and the government, Andrews, has said that the investigation will be on in the start of December after the election.
It's the Ian Cook thing as well. But the other thing is, what worries me is that you sitting right opposite, because you mouthed off in COVID, the cops came down and saw you the next day or 2 days later or something in the foyer of your building.
Yes.
And the other thing that concerned me was Hayden Burbank, who was sitting here. We interviewed him. 2 days later, the police come around to hassle him. And he had nothing to answer. Can you tell me what is going on?
No, well, what is going on is that this man and his government are out of control. They are almost to a man and woman are pigs.
Now, hang on.
They are seriously evil. Honestly.
No, just hang on. Do you think that they would have people listening? We do a bloody podcast, you know, and is it coincidence that it happens just after those 2 episodes that we did? Do people listen into this rubbish?
Plenty of people listen to this. Don't think we'd be.
What, the authorities that listen to this is like third world.
I don't think we'd stroke ourselves too much, Don, to say
but hang on,
that people are listening to this in government circles that act on what we say. But I tell you what, plenty of people listen to it. You wait till I tell you how many people listen to it down in Tasmania, because I was down there during the week.
You're missing my point,
I'm not,
idiot.
Yeah, no, I'm not, Don. I know what you're saying, but I don't think we're. As I say, I think we're massaging ourselves a bit if we say that.
But hang on,
people hang on every word we say.
Yeah, but hang on, I'm not saying that at all. But it is just a bit of a coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolute coincidence. You rang me the other day and said, I mentioned this on the podcast, and suddenly it's in the paper. Now, so Quill, Justin, our great friend, he said, I would like to ask...
When did you speak to Quilly?
I didn't. I said...
Well, what are you saying?
Because I heard him on the radio.
Oh, I see.
On the news. He said...
He doesn't return calls either.
He said that the fact that they've put off and deferred the investigation till after the election is absolutely disgraceful. They were my words, not his. And I would like to ask him, how... If someone challenged Dan out in court and said, how could you say that's offensive and to take that off my car? And there's no doubt, and this was what the investigation in IBAC was, that the government have got to the police. And that's why they shelved. That's why they shelved the iCook thing and shelved a lot of investigations, because the police are under their auspices. This is honestly like Stalin's. That this state is.
Johnny, isn't one of his advisors on his inner sanctum deputy of the police force now?
Well,
we got Shane Patton number 1, but isn't it number 2 from the Labor inner sanctum?
Hence the saying, Don, keep your friends close to you and keep your enemies even closer.
Have you voted?
I haven't voted yet, no.
Why not? Oh, you haven't done it. Okay. I did yesterday.
Well, good on you.
Very confusing. Very confusing. I'm a bit worried about, and it doesn't matter whether you're Liberal or Labor or whatever you are, but I made some inquiries as to why I didn't know any information about the independents and the minor parties that stand. Do you realise that the Labor Party, the Liberal Party, can more or less get donations?
Monopolise it.
Yes, as well as the Nationals. They're another rusted-on party, and the Greens have come into... they've got a bank or a means, or when they pass legislation, to protect those 4 parties. Any minor party who wants to get up can only get about $4,000 over 4 years, about $1,000 a year as far as a donation. Now, to run a campaign, I've heard it from 2 different sources, it costs about $200,000 to $220,000 to run a campaign in an electorate. Now, that Victoria Party, which I joined as a member because I thought it was made up of business people small business people who were really across a lot of issues, and they had candidates in nearly every seat, couldn't afford to go on because of the cost of the election. Now, unfortunately, we have 4 parties, and they are Labor, National, Liberal, and the Greens. The others...
Greens?
Greens are in.
But they're a party,
yeah, they're in, but they're in. They're kind of in that establishment. Anybody that's got anything else, or you want to start up another party, just about impossible.
Speaking of the Greens, Don, we had fantastic reaction to William Kninmoth, who came in here last week. He wrote a book called Climate Change, A Natural Hazard, and blew the living Scheissenhausen off the top of that myth and debunked all the bullshit that the climate deniers, the climate people are going on about how the climate is affected by things that are not.
Well, they say and I listened on the way in on 3AW this morning, Ross Stevenson. They had a lady who's in charge of climate from the CSIRO on, and she's saying about the world warming up and all the rest. But our man last week said that this is a cycle.
Yeah, he didn't say the world wasn't warming up. He said it is not due to anything that man does. I would hate to put words in his mouth, but he said the world is cyclical. It goes up and down in degrees, and he didn't say that. No one is saying that the world's not warming up, but he said, but it's the reason why, and it's the bullshit that they carry on with about driving cars and cows farting. And he said it is absolute nonsense. He said it's to do with the tides, the moon, the sun, and the wind.
Yeah, but the lady this morning on 3AW at least acknowledged the fact that Australia is a land of extremes. We have bushfires, we have floods, and at least she acknowledged that.
Speaking
and
of,
it's not due to climate.
Speaking of, so we've given the Labor. What chance would Matthew Guy have of being the Premier? No, seriously, he had a woman called Renee Heath who he's distanced himself from because she has extreme religious views about something and is said something about abortion. And she is in the Liberal Party, and she is standing in one of his constituents or members. He could honestly just say, instead of distancing himself from her or not endorsing what she says, he could say, I don't actually agree with what she says, but she's in the... What's wrong with having extreme religious views? And there's another man down in Gippsland somewhere. Where's he from? The man, Tim Dragan. Where's he from? He's down from... he said that... And he made the ill-considered statement about Aboriginals, saying, he said, bloody Aboriginals. He said, we came and took this land fair and square from them. I mean, what an ill-considered, stupid thing to say. But then he got belted because he has a view on climate, which doesn't agree with the Liberals, and he had a stance on abortion, which he said should be made illegal. And
what about the lady who's standing on...
And Guy distances himself from him. They're his opinions. In a democracy, he puts himself up in his electorate, and if he gets voted in, good, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. You don't have to agree with everything people say, but I tell you, Matthew Guy's thrown both those people under the bus, and they're in his party.
But what other things a lot of things have been come to the fore in this election? The lady standing in inner Melbourne, who claims to be Indigenous, yet her family said it's untrue, she's not Indigenous. Now, what is the advantage of being or declaring yourself Indigenous?
Are you serious?
Well, there's been a 27% increase in the number of people who are claiming to be Indigenous,
right,
and the only thing I can think of...
Reparations, welfare, benefits,
well, that's
advantages.
What I was just going to say.
Oh, no, it's a rort, mate. Because
you're Indigenous, are you more entitled to welfare payments?
Absolutely, you're more entitled to everything.
Oh, well, this is ridiculous. You don't question there. Here's the family saying she's not Indigenous, and she is, and she's claiming to... This has just gone ridiculous.
That's like that.
Well, can't you have something tested? Is there DNA or something?
Of course there is, but you know...
Well, what?
Well... Probably that woman, and what's that woman in America? Oh, it doesn't matter what, I can't think of her name. She said she was part Indian. She's not part Indian at all. She got a university, not scholarship. She became a lecturer at the university on the fact that she was an Indian, like a Sioux Indian, not an Indian in Asia. Indian, and she's not an Indian at all. She did have a test, and they found that she was 1/700th or 7,000th part Indian, like which made everyone on the planet Indian. No, it is a rortnon. So Matthew Guy, I tell you, you've got to have someone with some strength stand up and actually say it as it is. And if he doesn't agree with those two people, say, well, actually, don't. And Tim Dragon, this is what we've said. Tim Dragon said it'd be a good idea if we buried all the planet's nuclear waste near Alice Springs. Well, we have said, I've said this before, if ever we wanted to create our gross domestic product imbalance, we should take the world's nuclear waste, put a train line into the middle of Australia somewhere that doesn't interfere with the traditional grounds of Aboriginal burial sites, and something out in the middle, dig a 2-kilometre shaft down in the middle of Australia, because we don't have earthquakes or tidal waves or volcanoes, so we're pretty stable, and take everyone's nuclear waste and bury it in the middle of our country. It'd be fantastic, Don. That we would solve all our financial problems overnight.
Hey, listen,
and he mentioned that, except do it, and he said do it in Alice Springs. Tim, whatever his name is, Tim, for God's sake, man. Don't be so provocative. Don't say that we took the land off the Aboriginals fair and square. That is just the most ridiculous thing, ill-considered statement you can make. And don't say you're going to bury the nuclear waste in Alice Springs. But he's on the right track as far as the nuclear waste goes, I reckon, anyhow.
Well, they should have put, we mentioned it, they should have put, we used Woomera. It's got a big airstrip there. They should have used that for COVID. all the COVID, isolation. In the middle of nowhere, no one's going to run away from there.
What a rort that's turning out.
And what about that
COVID
ship?
and the vaccination bullshit?
Yeah, but what about the ship that's come into Sydney?
Yep.
They're talking about the spike. Yep. Wasn't there a ship that came into Sydney originally that brought COVID? Now this ship that's in Sydney now has got people with COVID on board.
Don, we spoke to the doctor from Sydney last week about it. He said, yes, put a mask on and go out and enjoy yourself. And you wait till the election's over, Andrews, if he gets in. Well, he'll get in.
Do you reckon he'll get in?
Well,
I tell you what, I voted yesterday. Did you see? Oh, you go. Have a look in the Legislative Council. There's a Sack Dan party.
No,
Sack Dan party.
Would it be... if Ian Cook could unseat that man in the seat of Mulgrave... Holy mackerel! I noticed he was in. There was an article in the Financial Review about.
Well, he's getting unbelievable support. I saw on YouTube the Schlick. I saw that on YouTube, an interview he did on that show. He's getting a lot of.
Hang on, Ivan sent me a thing. Ivan. He's.
Oh, of course I know Ivan.
He said. He had a big article in the Financial Review, not Ivan did, Ian Cook, about Daniel Andrews being challenged by Ian Cook.
And there's another independent out there that's gaining it. That's the problem. The hairdresser, he might take a few votes away, or Ian might take a few votes away from him as well, which is a bit of a problem.
So we've had that man, and then Daniel Andrews, because you have a different point of view, hopefully most people have a different point of view from him, just started calling people Nazis. Just because you have a right-wing view about things, you're a Nazi. What a dog. What has all the characteristics of a dog except loyalty. And now, Don. So we've... I thought we would... Now, here's the thing. Now, Kate Save. Now, I only just wanted to mention Kate Save because she said that there's some people have completed their first trial, if you like, of the food that she gave away, and they've got great testimonials about people losing weight. Now, I tell you who I saw on the television. Here's the thing. Just wrap your head around this, Don. I saw on the television Ross Lyon being interviewed, and I thought, now, Ross, I remember Ross when he was svelte and just looked pretty nifty when he played football and coached the Dockers, and I noticed maybe he's been in a good paddock. I don't know, Don, but maybe the television did him a disservice. But I thought I thought Ross has put on what I would call in a couple of extra kilos, and good on him if he wishes. But maybe Ross might like to. We could match Kate and Ross up, not biblically, but we could match them up professionally. And maybe Ross, if he wants to lose a little weight, he mightn't want to lose weight. I thought, I'm looking at him and I thought, he
might be very happy.
He's a very good-looking man, Ross Lyon. He'd look a lot better if he just lost a couple of K.
I question your taste.
You don't. He's a good-looking man. Well, he's good-looking to some people. Maybe his missus for a start, and his offspring, and his dog. Dog loves anyone. So that's what I say. All the characteristics of your dog, except loyalty.
Talking about dogs, I'm also worried about another footballer and his dog.
Well, just a minute, Don. Now, here's me jumping around. I was over in Tasmania. I was over in Tasmania. You would not believe. I stopped writing down the number of people who wanted to shout out, and so I'd take my pen and paper out of my bag, and the bloke said, "You actually do write the names down." Don said, "What, you got a bit of paper and you write the names?" I said, "I do," and I did, and I knocked up writing down how many people listen to our podcast.
Who have you got?
I stopped after this. I've got Nicholas and Rob, who's in the import-export business. We've got Dave and James and Nathan, who's called T-Rex. We've got Greg, who's a retired insurance broker. I couldn't write them down in the end. So why did I mention that, Don? Why did I mention that? I mentioned that for a reason. What was I talking about? Ross Lyon. Kate Save, Ross Lyon.
Oh, I don't know.
No, come on, a good-looking... I don't know why I mentioned that. So why don't we get Ross? Why don't you know? Do you know Ross?
What's that got to do with shout-outs? I've got two.
I know that.
Are we on to shout-outs now, are we?
No, I've just finished with Ross Lyon.
Like a mad woman's
just finished
breakfast.
with Ross Lyon because Kate Save has just finished the first batch of people she gave free food to as a contest to try and make Melburnians or Victorians or people in Australia who use her product, Be Fit Food, to lose weight. And I thought if Ross Lyon, because I was watching him, I thought maybe he wants to lose some weight. Why don't you know him, don't you? Don't you know Ross Lyon? Why don't you say, why don't we link up Kate with Ross, just professionally, and see if Ross could eat some of Kate's food, some of her balls or whatever.
Balls?
You said she makes balls?
No, it's a father's recipe. They're dim sim balls. They're like those South Melbourne dim sims, you know the big ones?
But no, you said they have protein balls.
Oh, well, they have protein balls.
Well, that's what I said.
That's a dessert.
I don't give a fuck
sweet.
what it is, Don. I said Kate's balls, and you looked at me as if Kate doesn't make balls. She does make balls, protein balls. Maybe you could get Ross Lyon, embark on a campaign. Ross could eat Kate's food for a month and see if he loses any weight. If he wants to. He mightn't want to, Don. Why don't you ask him? Because I don't know Ross as well.
How's Rebecca Tolley going?
Hey?
Rebecca Tolley. How's she going?
Who is Rebecca Tolley?
Well...
Who is she?
Oh, I think she's on the program, isn't she?
Well, what do you mean? You think
I thought she had a 2-week...
What? What are you talking about? Rebecca Tolley is our first person. Oh, God, you're dumb. I've got the text in front of me that Kate said you can't even read it out. Metabolism.
Well, I asked you about...
Rebecca Tolley is our first person to complete their 2-week metabolism reset and has lost 4K and
3.6.
Oh, Don, just round it off. Does anyone know what we're reading? 4K and 5 centimetres off her waist. That's a total of 6% body weight.
5.7.
Brad Williams has just finished 1 week and has lost an astonishing 4 kilograms in just 1 week. Incredible results.
That's over half a stone in the old language.
4 kilograms?
Yeah, it's well over half a stone.
No, it's not. So anyhow, so there's some of the results of Kate Save's Be Fit Food, right? And I'm saying, ring Ross Lyon up. Have you got Ross's number?
Yeah, okay, I'll ring him after.
Ring him up and say, are you interested? Sam Newman said you looked a bit portly.
Hey, whoa, you didn't read the whole ad.
No, I didn't.
Or the text,
it's not an ad.
No, it's not an ad. I mean a text. She's got 40% off. She's doing a sale for
Oh, it's
Black
a Black Friday.
Hey, Black Friday.
Yeah.
Is it this week?
No, well, it's all this week.
Everybody's this Black Friday.
Absolutely. Wait till I get onto Jetstar and Black Friday.
Anyway, they're doing 40% off-site wide. What's that mean, off-site wide? Anyway, she's got a sale, a Black Friday sale, so you get 40% off the goods. I'd go down.
I tell you what you should do in the summer when you've got nothing to do and the horses aren't. I'd get someone to teach you to read. Yeah, well, you can't read properly.
I understand. I suffer.
Well, why can't you?
I suffer.
What have you got?
Dyslexia.
Oh, serious? Oh, I'm sorry. I've been making fun of you.
I know you have.
So you got dyslexia?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, don't I?
Struggle.
If I knew you had dyslexia, I wouldn't have said that.
One of our other friends has got dyslexia, and he holds a very, very responsible job.
Who's got dyslexia?
Oh, I'm not telling you.
Oh, I see.
You will shout out, but I don't. Oh, I should ask him if he would let me say.
Yeah, I know. Well, the bloke who used to run Channel 9,
who?
David Gingell, he's quite openly concedes he's got dyslexia. He's dyslexic, and he ran the National 9 network for Kerry Packer.
Hang on, I've got a shout out. Do you mind?
Do I mind?
Because one man I saw down at the Beaumaris football ground as I was coming away, he yelled out, he was walking his dog, he said he was a friend of Michael Christian. He listens all the time, but he wouldn't give me his name. He must be embarrassed. So whoever that man is walking his dog around the Beaumaris. But then there is Darren Reed. Now, Darren Reed fronted me in the Mount Martha bakery yesterday, and Darren's father played in the 1966 grand final side for St Kilda, Jimmy Reed on the wing.
Yep.
A very tough player was Jimmy
he a listener?
Reed.
Is he a listener?
Darren is.
Yeah.
Every week while he's doing his round.
Right, good.
He works for Jim's Mowing.
I see. So you've sent out
and he puts his headphones on when he's mowing the lawns.
Good. So good on you, Jim.
No, Darren.
Good on you, Dazza. Now,
Darren.
Fucking Don, you've just given a shout out to a bloke who hasn't got a name.
It's right. Why are they all embarrassed? Don't they want to be... There's a couple of other people say that to me. I listen to your podcast. Oh, I'll give you a shout. No, don't do that.
So there's a man there's a person from a very big firm, a very widespread franchise in Melbourne.
What's it called?
I'm not telling you what it's called because...
You pumped me for,
No, you'll know why I'm not saying it.
What?
And he texts, he says he loves the podcast. And I said, I'll give you a shout out and I'll mention the company. And he said, oh, for God's sake, don't mention me or the company. But you know who that is. You know who it is.
But see, I'm a bit different to you. I will keep that confidence.
Well, I've kept
No, you don't keep any confidence.
I haven't told you who he is.
You are a ripper at letting things go out. I will not tell you anything.
Company, very big franchise it is. And he says, he loves it. And he said, oh, no, don't mention. He said, I can't have the company thinking that I listen to it. So that's good. So now michaelchristianmenswear.com. michaelchristianmenswear.com. It's not up your ass, but it's .com. So that was just a joke when I said up your bum. So michaelchristianmenswear.com. He's now commissioned another run of caps.
Bullshit. I sold 3 last week.
He's commissioned...
Will you listen to my 3? You know where they went?
How would I know where they went, Don?
I'll tell you.
Well, thanks.
To our one and only listener in Israel.
There you are. How do you know we've got one and only listener there?
We've only got one.
We've got listeners all around the globe.
We haven't.
All around the globe we have.
Well, there is a thing on the, I don't know.
They're in Hong Kong, they're in Thailand, they're in all Europe. People, expat Australians go over and they like to know and keep an eye or an ear on what's happening back in their country of origin,
well,
which is us here.
They wouldn't find out what's happening here.
What they found out that Dan Out has been banned off Victorian number plates because the government have got to the coppers and got to the instrumentalities. They'll find out that Matthew Guy has thrown 2 people who are in his party under the bus for their views on various things. They'll find out that Justin Quill has said that it's a disgrace that they've put the investigation into some corruption back until after the election. They've found out lots of things, Don. And so, Michael Christian, if you want to give someone an obscure or tricky
Why doesn't
little...
he do something else beside the hats?
Well done, Don.
We've got the peaky hats and those giggle hats.
Golf hats.
He's on the market with
bucket
those
hats.
He calls them bucket. I call them giggle. I've watched
and the golf hats, golf caps.
Yeah, I said
baseball
peak
caps. Yeah,
but he's on the money because since I thought, why is he doing giggle cats? I have watched
giggle cats,
giggle
hats.
Hats. A lot of people are wearing them.
Don,
they're on the cutting edge.
And he's now branching into knits.
What? Knits.
What
type of knits?
Not the knits that you get in your hair.
What, twin sets?
The KNITS. The KNITSs, the knits.
Hang on, knits.
Not the knits that...
twin sets.
No, knit, T-shirts and polo shirts. Woolen. And he sent me a design. It had... you cannot be serious across it. And he said, should I have a white T-shirt with red writing or a red T-shirt with white writing? And I'm suddenly become a colour expert. And
well, you've also got to understand, Michael, that if you do it on a white shirt, it could run. The lettering could run if it's cheap cotton and it hasn't been dyed properly.
When you commission someone to make them, you would say, could you make some T-shirts where the writing doesn't run?
Yeah, but
we won't pay you.
But Michael might be trying to do it at a price, and so he's using and engaging cheap fabric
wouldn't matter what price Mick does it at. You'll complain. You said that the hat's at $34.99 or whatever.
How much are you going to sell the shirts for?
I'd have no idea. Wouldn't matter if he gave them away. You'll say they're shit house and it's a rip-off. You said the hats are a rip-off. The hats aren't a rip-off if you go and buy a golf hat somewhere.
That's Michael. He'll rip them off.
That's Michael. He'll rip him off.
Yeah, he'll rip him off.
He came to the country club in Launceston where I spoke with Jeff Fennick and Tim Payne.
Did she come?
He brought a woman with him that he said was his wife. Yep.
He said it was you.
He said, I'm sure.
You don't think he was...
No,
you don't think he was...
was his wife. It was
his wife. You sure?
It is his wife. And he came there and he said, he showed me the design of the shirts. And I said, well, good on you, Mick. So if you would like to give someone a Christmas present. Now, think about this, Don. They might get all the socks and shirts and all the bullshit, and suddenly they open a thing and it's a golf hat that you can actually wear if you play golf or go out in the sun, and it's got "You Cannot Be Serious." And I think it'd be a fantastic present.
The only trouble I think about it
present. So you can get Michael Christian Menswear. What?
It's linked to your mate Trump.
Let's hope so.
No, what do you mean?
Well,
he's finished.
On the contrary, he's on the march.
Bullshit, mate.
So why do you say...
Biden's the only bloke that's made a gain at the midterms.
Oh, Don,
Obama
please.
Didn't, Bush didn't,
the
incumbents
Don,
didn't.
Please.
And he is yesterday's man. They're trying to push him out.
You just listen to
the
propaganda.
I'm observing.
No, you're not observing. Mate, he is on a march. He is on a roll.
What? He's yesterday's man.
He is clinically retarded.
Who? Trump?
No, Biden. He didn't. They took over the House of Representatives. They took over the lower house, the Republicans.
Why doesn't his son? I watch. Trump. Can I ask you a question about Trump? I'm not interested in that.
The mainstream media don't mention all the corruption and stupid.
Here we go.
Well, they don't, Don. They don't. And he is on a roll.
His son, is it Braden?
Who?
Trump. He never smiles. He walks with his mum and dad.
His son?
Yes, Trump's son.
How old is he?
Oh, I don't know. Would he be 21? He's about 6'7". He's huge.
He doesn't smile?
He doesn't smile at all. He seems
what
to be there under sufferance with his parents.
What when he's interviewed?
No, he just walks behind them or with them.
Well, what, you walk around grinning to yourself, or do people think you're an idiot?
Being a little more animated. The boy doesn't.
Why?
Well, I don't know. Does he want to be there? Is he forced to be there?
Well, with his father walking behind his father.
Mother.
Oh, so you think he walks behind him with a sour look on his face because he doesn't want to be with him?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God, you tumble for all the shit that
Have
you get
a look
fed.
at the tape.
Donald Trump is the only saviour to that country to rescue it from the country that you think it was. You don't think so? No. Well, because you listen. We've said this many times before.
My friend in America.
Oh,
Harley,
your friend in America,
Harley, who is pro-Trump.
Yeah. Pro-Trump.
Yes.
Okay, so what's he say? He's on the way out.
He said, "Oh, yeah, I know, not good.
What's not good?
Eh?
The midterm bullshit."
Yeah, there he is, and he's pro.
So you think Donald Trump is the only person that decides who votes for who and who gets into either the Senate or the House of Representatives or the lower house? Do you think he's that? They did. Have a listen to this. Elon Musk, who has just bought Twitter, put out a questionnaire as to whether they should allow Trump, because he got banned off Twitter. Can you believe it? The President of the United States got banned off having an opinion on Twitter. Put out a questionnaire whether Trump should be allowed to come back onto Twitter. And how many replies do you reckon they got?
No.
How many?
I wouldn't know.
52% said that he should be allowed back on Twitter, and 48% said he shouldn't. And out of what percentage of how many votes? 70 million. 70 million people responded. Do you reckon that man is out of business? Do you? Doesn't matter if you like him or you don't like him. 70 million people responding to whether Trump should be allowed back on Twitter. He is the only person that will save that country from where it's headed.
Talking about politicians,
now,
can I just mention one in Melbourne locally? A former politician who's standing for a football club board. His name's James Molino, standing at Hawthorn. He put out his election preamble the other day. Now, this is businessmen getting involved who know nothing about football, and pulled his preamble down in, I reckon, a dozen words, maybe less. He was talking about watching Hawthorn, and his favourite player is Robert Di Dipper, or Bertie as we call him, and he used to admire Robert Domenico's raking left foot kicks.
which he wasn't.
Thank you, Johnny.
Isn't James Molino the man that said you cancelled the $15 million?
Yes,
Didn't
he's standing for the board, and he's out there. I used to watch Hawthorn, and he cited all my favourite players, Robert Di Domenico.
The raking left footer.
Raking left foot kicks. Well, he shot himself down in just raking left foot kicks.
The only two raking left footers I remember are the very good goal kicker for...
you had one, Tony Polinelli. He was a good kick, wasn't he? Left footer.
John Sharrock.
Was he a raker?
John Sharrock. Buddy Franklin was a raking left foot kick.
Jeez, those hats are popular. Sorry.
What about
those hats are popular? You're right. Someone's just walked in with a "You Can't Be Serious" hat.
We've got Dr. James Stewart. I told you, last week. Dr. James Stewart is in here to chat to us about, the product, the marijuana oil, because we keep getting asked questions about it and we're not capable of answering them. He's just walked in. Sit down, Doc. We're going to just wind this up in a minute and start again. Start the second part of this. Now, Don, who's the other great goal kicker for Hawthorn just in recent times? Left foot.
John Peck.
No,
Butch Pryor.
John Peck, wasn't it?
Butch
left
Pryor.
footer. Just in the recent Hawthorn in the last...
Michael Moncrief.
Recent Hawthorn, Don. He's married to... Fuck, how am I going? He's married to... oh, Christ. He's a friend of Jeff Kenneth. I was with him the other day. What's his name? The left footer. Fuck. He's married to...
He was never a left foot goal kicker at Hawthorn.
Don, what's the man who lost his arm, the golfer?
Jack
Dunstall. Newton. He's married to Jack Newton's daughter.
Benny Dixon.
Ben Dixon.
Now, Benny.
Ben will be very...
He was a half
I'm
forward.
sorry, Ben, I'd had a mental...
I was thinking of Buddy Franklin, Lance Franklin, when you said left foot goal kicker.
I mentioned Lance Franklin. I said a raking left footer. I said another great
Peter
left
Hudson
footer.
we should have mentioned.
He wasn't a left footer, you fool. Ben Dixon was a great kick for goal, probably as good as Jason Dunstall. He is
this is a big call.
Well, he was, and he's a left footer. That's why I'm saying. And Mr. Molino is saying Robert Di Domenico is a raking left footer. Mr. Molino, for me, give Hawthorn the $15 million you promised, and shut the fuck up because you know nothing about it. Now, Don, and we also mentioned. No, we don't have to shut up, Mr. Molino, but see if you can get vaguely the right side of the body that the bloke kicks on. And we mentioned Anne-Marie last week.
Hang on, just getting back to Molino.
Anne-Marie.
And
she
we're
got
just
a
getting
surname?
onto a sensible topic. Do you know these ministers, senior ministers, who are not recontesting?
Yeah.
The Labor ministers not recontesting these things. He's got a lot of junior ministers now, Dan Andrews. Not one of them has spoken up as to why they're getting out of politics. You know why?
No.
Because they've never had a job in their life where they, stood on their own 2 feet. They've always been employed.
Yeah.
Now, there's a difference. There's an art to
They're
being
always leeches.
There's an art
Parasites.
there's an art to being an employee. Now, there's an art to being an employee.
Yeah.
Different to when you put everything on the line and become self-employed.
Hence,
And that is why these people haven't spoken out, because all they're qualified to do is get a job in Labor, something associated job in it, like a union or social welfare or something,
Hence,
where Dan approves the appointment.
Hence, Mark Twain's great saying, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born
And the day you die.
and the day you realise why.
Well, we're all a result of 5 minutes of, or not 5 minutes,
Don,
might be a couple of
the
minutes.
best 2
seconds
days of
pleasure.
your life are the day you were born and the day you find out the reason why, which means you're either a giver, a taker, a leader, a follower, all that sort of stuff, Don.
Geez, you're reading a lot into this. I didn't realise you're so deep.
Deep.
Yeah, you.
Don, I'd only
You're
have
very
to
shallow.
be basically on a even keel to be
What?
for you to think I'm deep. Now we've got the doc has just arrived.
He's gone.
Dr. James has arrived. So we're going to wind this up, and
I've got a lot of other things to talk about.
we're going to chat to him about them. What do you think?
Well,
he's
he'll
just
know
coming?
about why Lisa Wilkinson and Peter Hellier and Kerry Bickmore have gone off the project. Is he qualified?
What have they done?
The
Tell me
project.
now. Well, hang on. Don't tell me now. We're going to wind this up, Don. I'm not cutting you off, and then we're coming back
You
because
are
we've
cutting
got
me off.
we've got to be ready for Lana. What's her name? Lana May, who's the man whisperer from LA, California. So we're winding this up now, and I think I hit that button there. So here we go.